Hello everyone, and welcome to another worm video. Today, adding to my collection a little bit, I've got some European Nightcrawlers here that I just received in the mail. Only thing I've done so far is take the tape off so I can get the label off, so I don't have to put my address directly on the internet like that. So, yeah, some European Nightcrawlers, different than most of my my red wigglers. These ones are bigger. They don't tend to clump up as much. Some people use them as a bait worm. They're a little more difficult to care for, I think, than red wigglers, but I wanted to add some more of these to my collection, and so found a good deal on Midwest worms. I've used them before, and I've had good luck with their worms. They've always come in good condition, so I'm pretty sure that these will as well. They sat outside for no time at all since I was here, and so let's see what they look like. Nice big bag. Now this is like plastic material. This is what you'd use for like making a sandbag. So this is not compostable. Oh, but it does come with some nice shredded cardboard in the bottom here, and I will definitely be feeding this as a bedding to these Euros in various bins where they're going, because they do have multiple wormy locations for these. I've got one bin that used to have Euro cocoons in it, and I think they've all hatched, but I don't want to just throw out the material that they're in, which is a mix of castings and the peat moss bedding that they came in. So I figured I'm just going to use whatever castings are in it. I don't think there's much because they were all tiny worms bringing them out. So it's mostly bedding, and I'm just going to use that as a relaunch for some of these worms so that any cocoons that are still in there still get a chance to hatch out and be in their own correct population. Then I've got a bin of Euros. I'm going to plus up the population, and a second bin of Euros that those cocoons hatched out and turned into their own. I'm going to plus up the population. So this is just a boost mainly to several bins, and yeah, we're going to see how these guys look first, and then figure out how many to go to each bin. One thing for cutting open these that I've learned: be careful in cutting up directly where the tie is, especially with red wigglers. It might not be so much the case with Euros, but the red wigglers, you get one of these from any company. The bags from, say, Uncle Jim's are more of like a black mesh fabric, things like that, but don't cut into the neck right here, because so many of those little worms tunnel up into it. You could cut a dozen of them in half without realizing that. So go where you could tell that there's nothing on the side, and just carefully cut around. Remember, you've waited for your worms to come in the mail. It's worth taking a little extra time and being careful to not chop any of the poor guys in half. Alright. So yeah, unlike the reds, they don't seem to have crawled up in the neck of this one. Finish cutting that off, so it's easy for. You can see this is not a material that will compost, so oh well. Little bit of trash. Everything else in the bin, or in the delivery, is going to be composted. Okay. Now, I'll get a couple of these tiny shreds out. Alright, so just digging down into here. Oh yeah. Look at that. That's a nice ball of worm right there. These are plentiful, that's for sure. Now they are a little sluggish, but any worm delivery that you get is pretty much going to be filled with sluggish worms. And Part of the reason is that they get dried out some. Whew, look at these. In the bedding, and they go a little dormant during shipping, and you know, it's not meant for them to be super lively. You don't want them to squirm out while they're halfway in transit, so they come pretty sluggish, but we're gonna get them cheered right up. Very nice, very nice. Beautiful worms, nice size, definitely way larger than red wigglers, or more like a angel hair spaghetti compared to these ones that are, you know, thicker than linguine. But definitely a good amount of them in here. Now, I'm going to start hydrating them. So this is plenty of material. I'm just going to pour a little bit of water and get them just able to start taking a sip of that, start getting happy again, getting lively again, getting juicy again, because though they might be bigger, these are still shriveled and dehydrated compared to what they will be once they get a little bit of water, get a little bit of nice food in them, and get going. So I'm very happy about these worms. Not seeing any dead ones in here. I'm not seeing them tiny or shriveled or anything. So this is a very good shipment by Midwest Worms. Highly recommended. They're probably the company that I've used most as I've built up my worm collection. Them and Redbud Soil Company. So if you're looking for worms, those are two very solid companies. I've had zero problems. I've also in the past ordered from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm, and they're okay. They're the big name. They're the first one you're going to get on Google, all that when you look for worms. But I don't know. Their worms come as more of a mix of worms. When you order red wigglers, you're going to get some Euros in the mix. You're going to get some Indian blue worms in the mix. I've had better luck with Midwest and Redbud Soil. So there's just my tips if you're looking to get into worming at all. But I can already see worms starting to wriggle down. Let me see. Try to adjust my camera here and see if we can't get... Sorry if it's shaky. And tilted. I'm not great with cameras, you may have noticed if you're watching this, but hey, as long as I'm better with the worms than I am with the camera, that's what really matters, right? Okay. They're already starting to tunnel down under a bit. I'm guessing that they'll more congregate in the middle because this is a clear bin that I'm rehydrating them in, and they'll probably want to stay clear of the sides, the top, all that as they dig down. But they might be somewhat right now enjoying the top where there's more of that moisture. It's not too bright here, just in my kitchen. Continue misting a bit to add more moisture. This material itself is not, you know, a full bin, so it could be a little bit wetter than I would keep one of my normal worm bins, and that's okay as we rehydrate these guys. It'll get slid up and only some of this material going into each of the destination bins. So I'm not worried about it getting too wet. These guys need a drink. These ones are shipping from Missouri, I believe, to my location here in Pennsylvania. And so it's a little trek, but they shipped pretty quickly. Today is Wednesday. They were shipped on Monday, and post office first thought it would be Friday by the time they got here. But they got here Wednesday morning, so very little transit time. Definitely makes me happy. Oh, and I do believe, again, if you're looking for starting your own worm collection, I do believe that these were free shipping from Midwest Worms. There are companies you'll pay as much in shipping as you will for the worms themselves. Now, I also got something else to try from the same company. I decided to buy a couple of their worm casting sifters. They've got them in 1/4-inch screen and 8-inch screen, and I got one of each. Because normally I will separate my bins by, stopping feeding for a while, letting them finish off, and then having them migrate across the bin into a new feeding zone that I'll set up on one side. And that's great, but I figured I want to try some different methods and see if anything works better. The migration method does take some time, and so it takes time for the receiving bin of those worms you're extracting to build up their full population. Whereas if I screen it, it's getting an instant population all at once. A little more water over here because I do see a bit more of a clump right here under the surface. But everybody seems alive and well. It's just they're chilling right here. No worries about transmitting germs or anything to these worms. If I'm going to bare hand worms, I always wash my hands well before and then definitely after. So I'm not trying to transmit any diseases to these guys. But yeah, I think they are going to be nice and happy in here. As they settle in, get acclimated, and then we're going to have fun transplanting these into a few new bins. So I'm going to give these guys, I don't know, half an hour to bask and rehydrate a bit. And then I will take you down to the worm room, and we'll see about getting these guys into their new home. Alright, we'll be back. And we're back. Alright, so it's been around half an hour, 25 minutes to half an hour. A lot of them are still, chilling pretty close to the top. Again, that's where most of the moisture is. So it's not unexpected, but yeah, they are definitely some nice worms here. So I'm going to be putting my video and editing skills to the test here, because I'm going to do a short burst for each of these videos I intend to, or each of these bins, sorry, that I intend to put these worms into. So we're going to start one bin at a time. Gotta fix the camera. I am gloved up now because I'm going to be messing with the bins that have stuff in, as well as rotten food and all that. Okay. So, alright. Trying to figure this out, how to do this best, and I think the best way is I'm going to take these guys and set them onto the other table I've got next to me. You'll note I'm not in my garage because my garage is just too hot right now. The worms have this nice cool bedding to dig down into. I don't have that, so I'll just have to do a little bit of extra cleaning up in here. Okay, so this bin is labeled Lima. I name my bins all after the military phonetic alphabet, and so that's what this bin is. It's the letter L. So set this top covering aside. Now Lima here was the bin that all of the cocoon hatched eggs or worms went into. So these ones are all from here. Now it's not the most populous bin, hence why they're getting a little bit of a plus up. But these are just juvenile. Although starting to get to the point, you could see, starting to develop their reproductive organs. So that means they will be making themselves some more baby worms here soon. Yeah, these ones, as you see, we're not digging up clumps of worms. Like if this was red wigglers in all the corners, I'd be pulling up a handful of squirming worms together. Red wigglers like to group together. That's a sweet potato. European nightcrawlers tend to, you know, come get their food and then go and eat it alone. You know, go watch Netflix in their room or whatever. So that's what these guys are doing in this bin. So you don't see as many. There aren't as many as a red wiggler bin, but they are much bigger as well. Anyway, what I'm going to do first is put in a nice feeding over in this corner, and then we'll add the worms on top and let them have at it. Whoop. I bumped the camera again. Okay, so the feeding's going to go in this corner, and what I've done while I was waiting, sorry about the sound, as I turn away from the camera, is I've shredded some nice newspaper up. Euros love bedding. They need lots of cardboard, newspaper, leaves, you know, dry leaves, good carbon materials. They need a lot more than red wigglers, is what I've found. So nice clump of that to start with, as well as some that will last a little bit longer with some of the cardboard that they came with. There we go. Nice bed of bedding. I'm going to add in some coffee grinds from my local Starbucks that always supplies me. Seriously, if you need coffee grinds, find your local Starbucks. Call them, say that you're asking for coffee grinds for composting. Can they save them for you for a day or two? I think pretty much all of them will do that. And you can get some nice, free, bite-sized chow for your worms. Highly recommended. They do love coffee. And why not? It's just ground up beans. Already boiled, makes it easy for it to break down. Okay, let's see what's in this little satchel. Just some kitchen scraps that I had moved down. Oh yeah, some banana peels. Work that in. I'll save some of the banana for the next bin. Here's a couple of nice juicy strawberries. Like to pop these a little bit so that they start breaking down faster. I mean, they're already breaking down, but you want them to really be approachable for the worms. Alright. That will be a very nice feeding in that corner. And you can see I've stirred some of it into this newspaper a bit. That's because I don't want just nothing but a clump of wet newspaper at the bottom. And that tends to happen if you just put newspaper in the bottom. And it makes it so that in a week or so you just have to come in and break up a clump of it or something. But makes it easier and more approachable. And since these worms need a nice easy place to relax quickly, that's what we're doing. Oh, there we go. All right. Now then, I'm not going to be able to easily divide or completely estimate how many worms are going in each bin, but look at that. Spray them down. That's some nice wormage. They will probably very quickly outgrow this bin here. I do have some deeper ones, and I'll probably be moving them to that within the next few weeks. After they settle in, get acclimated, all that. This bin's pretty full, but it does still have some good material that they can break down. Yeah, but look at them. Nice and happy, squirming around, very active. I don't see a dead one in the bunch. It's the beautiful thing with this. There might be one or two, it happens, but I haven't seen any. So these are some great worms that have been delivered. Very happy with this. I'm putting a link down in my box to Midwest Worms. If you're at all interested in starting your own worm farm, go there. Buy some of theirs. They're great. You know, I can show you right here that these are nice worms, fat and happy. No scrawny ones. They didn't give me a bunch of complete juveniles, anything like that. They gave me nice, fat, juicy European Nightcrawlers, and they're all active, all happy. Very good purchase. I'm not affiliated. I don't have a link or a sponsor link or anything like that. I just appreciate good product when I see one. So, alright, these ones I'm going to allow to squirm down a bit. Leave the camera rolling, and maybe I'll see if I can speed that portion up and make it a little more exciting. But I'm going to let them just get down into the material and learn that they're in a good place. So let's let that go for a few minutes. Alright, most of them have squirmed their way down. There's still a few on top here, but they'll settle in. Make it nice and dark for them now. Keep that moisture in. And these guys should love this bin. Alright, I'm going to go get the next bin. Alright, next bin. This one, labeled India, was the original cocoon hatchery. So this one, last I checked a few days ago, I didn't see a single worm in. But I have been trying to keep the material at least moist enough that any remaining cocoons might hatch. Although it has been drying out some still, because I haven't been putting in much food. There's a little bit of food dispersed throughout here, as well as the bedding itself, which is peat moss or cocoa coir, something like that. But as I stir through, I'm not seeing any worms. I'm sure there's probably 1 or 2 tiny baby worms in here I could miss, but it doesn't have any population to speak of in here. Now, this one, I'm going to set up a slightly larger feeding zone, because this one's going to get a pretty decent amount of worms in it. It's going to go from no population to a pretty good one. And maybe one day I will pass my camera without bumping it. Okay. So, plenty of bedding. Plenty of bedding. Lots of coffee grounds, which I'll let this run for a second because I forgot them. There we go. So, coffee grounds. Plenty of those. It's a much larger feeding than I normally give a bin, but this one really has nothing, and it is about to get a lot of worms. Just mix that coffee in a little bit. Now, because it's a larger feeding, this side might heat up just a little bit for a few days, but the other side should stay cool enough, I think. Alright. Time for some nice strawberries. I'm going to do enough of these here because this bin also is pretty dry. Lacking good, moist, organic material. We got to get that in there. Plenty of strawberries that they should love. Mixed in, let it soak into this newspaper. I've got some rotten beans. Got these at a farmer's market the other day and they rotted to mush. in no time flat. Kind of sad about that, but the worms will be happy. Okay. And I actually forgot this for the last bin. I'll have to go back and give them a little. Plenty of egg grit. I just ground this up while waiting for the worms originally to move down. Again, your friendly reminder, never breathe in the dust from your egg grit. If you put it in a blender or food processor, grind it, and let it sit, because that will tear your lungs up. Okay. So, I'm just going to cover this material. Nice covering, keep insects out. Putting some of the larger bedding pieces that were already in here over on the other side in case this does heat up. Give the worms something over on that side to munch on. But they will also even eat the peat moss bedding that they're in. Everything that's in here other than the worms will be turned to poop. It all will become worm compost. It's a beautiful thing with them. They are not wasters. Alright. Ready for worms. And now this is yet another bin. This is one of my shallow ones. And it's going to need a deeper one very soon. Although it's less full than it looks. Both of these bins are less full than they look when they've got a bunch of newspaper in. Because that, in a couple days' time, will sink down a whole lot. As well as even the fruits. Oh no. Almost lost a worm. Get everyone in there. And they're coming with nice wet bedding of their own, now that I've soaked that for them after they came in the mail. So they'll be happy in no time. They have plenty to eat, plenty to drink. One more handful. Yeah, that's nice. Plenty of worms, and now we're just going to let them settle. Same as the other bin. Let them just get in there, find what's good, and chill out. I can tell you though, this is a ton of worms. Not only did this company not cheat me on them, it feels like a lot more than I ordered as well. So I am not unhappy about that. This is one of the best worm orders I've gotten. I'm just really pretty darn happy. When you're thinking about having to buy some bigger bins immediately because you got so many worms, that is a good problem to have. I'm going to come in here on this one, and I'm going to put a little bit of dry bedding, just the rest of this cardboard on top of this one. Something to cover them up a little bit, act like leaves in the forest. Just cover up the top, mulch it over, help keep moisture in, help regulate, and give them a food source if they're cruising at the top. Because they love cardboard. Speaking of cruising at the top, there's one right there who's trying to escape. But the rest of them have all settled in. I'm not yet seeing a lot of escapees. So they're doing good. That's a good bin. Alrighty. Let's see. There's an escapee. Or at least he was looking at the edge. He decided better. Good on him. Zoom back out. There we go. Alright. That's this bin. I'm going to go ahead and get it covered up. Take it back down. And I'm going to get the third bin. Alright. We are on to the third and final European Nightcrawler bin. This was actually my first European Nightcrawler bin, labeled Hotel, and it's a much deeper bin. I'm not going to be transferring the other worms into this one, but this one should last a little bit longer. See, I've got a nice carbon covering on this one. They really seem to like that. Mostly I've been feeding in the middle on this one, as opposed to my normal pocket feeding. But again, they don't clump up in here. Each of the worms like to do their own thing. They like to come for a nibble and go away and mind their own business. Okay. Not a ton over in that area. The other side. I do like to try to preserve the top covering when I do one of these as much as possible, so I'll just move it from side to side as I check. Seems some good small ones, which is nice because it means this bin has been reproducing. There's two of them that are very juvenile. They look more like red wigglers, but I haven't been putting any red wigglers in this bin. So, we're hatching out new babies, and that's a good thing. Let's check the middle where I last fed. Some good, slimy, broken down material there. I think they actually got a bunch of rotten berries last time. And they are doing a nice job on those. You don't always see a lot of Euros when you dig through one of your bins because they're so dispersed, and frankly, not nearly the population that I've got in one of my red wiggler setups, but they're always doing their job. Stuff I put in here gets destroyed. They eat like crazy, so I'm never worried that they're gone, or not, at least since the first time I panicked that all my worms were disappearing in here. Nah, they could just be tough to spot. So, that's perfectly okay. Alright. Get this one a feeding. More newspaper. Trust me when I say it's not too much newspaper what you see in here. For European Nightcrawlers, you're just not doing too much newspaper. Once again, forgot my coffee grounds, so 10 seconds here. Alright. Beautiful. Can be even alright, and I kind of like a lot of the time mixing a little bit of casting in with the fresh bedding that I'm putting in. So make sure that bedding is then filled already with those microbes that are helping break stuff down and making it palatable to the worms. Alright. Good bedding setup. More beans. Yummy, gross, squishy beans. They will adore those. Rest of the berries. These ones really probably don't even need squishing up. They are so mushy. Alright. Beautiful. Cover that up a little bit just to keep flying insects from being attracted, although the newspaper covering does help with that as well. Just helps keep things out of the bin, helps keep the smells down, Although none of my bins smell really all that bad. I just smell earthy, which is what you would expect from earthworms. Now this is going to be a big pile of worms, so that should make for good YouTube watching, right? Say, in a worm video, what do you want to see? You want to see a giant pile of worms squirming about. That's what any wormer loves seeing. There's something very satisfying about that when you're doing worms. Just seeing a ball of worm, something that's just nothing but just gorgeous. Alright, let those squirm down. I'm scraping out this container, make sure I didn't leave any little ones behind. And don't want to leave the bedding behind because it's free bedding. Even this bin is going to be pretty full of worms. I will be looking at some setups for my bins of what could be a good bigger setup. Now, red wigglers are very much surface feeders, so they like shallow bins. But Euros are okay with a little bit deeper. They're not the same as the ones out in your garden, I believe, that will just, you know, dig giant tunnels way down. These ones still are good composting worms, but they're different from reds, and they have different behaviors, and they do like a little bit deeper. So I might look at some like big Rubbermaid totes or something to transfer these ones into, and those would be good because I could stack them up as well as I grow out my Euros. So I'm hoping that these populations really will take off a bit. Eventually, I would like to expand my collection and include some African nightcrawler bins, maybe some Canadian nightcrawlers. Tough thing there is that those have two different extremes of temperatures they like. The Canadians like the cold and the Africans like the heat. So we'll see in time. I'm trying to get real good at these worms first, because advancing to something like Africans, they're a more difficult worm from everything I've read. I also have some new stuff coming up. You might have seen this has been a bit of a hiatus from worm videos recently, but I've got a number of videos coming up. One, I'm working on baiting some outdoor worms. We're going to see how that goes. I've got super worms upcoming. That's going to be interesting. They're not actually worms. They're beetle larvae. But we're going to be trying to farm those, and we're going to see how that goes. I'm pretty excited about those. Those are on the way right now, so look for a learning how to farm super worms with me video, because I've never done it before. But I do intend to post more often. I hope people are enjoying this. If anyone's got tips or advice, more experience with these, and things that they think that I've missed out on, or should try, should avoid, let me know. You know, I'm not going to tell you to subscribe, like, comment, like all the videos out there, but, you know, I love feedback. So if you see something I'm doing wrong, help me learn, because I learn through failure best. And so if you've got failures in the past, or successes that you'd like to help me with, let me know. I'm just going to cover these guys up now. I'm going to return them down to their space. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit on top. I'd like this to be a nice, thick coat, and thanks to my neighbors, I have no shortage of newspaper. I get newspaper, eggshells, things like that from my neighbors, and I exchange it for fresh produce from my garden. So everybody works out, and it's a whole part of the beautiful cycle here. So, awesome. Well, see how that works. I'm sure it's tilted right now, but thank you for watching. Here's my sweaty face. I hope you enjoyed, and I know I did. I love playing with my worms. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.